Tractate Bava Metzia, page 60. We'll start on 59b, 7 lines before the largest line, שבע שורות מהרחבות. We discussed in a previous daf the well-known story of the תנורו של אחינאי. The key is that was one great rabbi by the name of Rabbi Eliezer, but he tried to לשנות מעשה בראשית, he tried to change the structure of the world, and we basically go by the physical, unabstract, real decision of the Bet Din. So the end of that story we just discussed in the previous daf, אמרו אותו היום הביאו כל טהרות שתהיה רבי אליעזר ושרפון באש. So therefore they make a decision on that day. The sages brought all the ritually pure items that deemed pure by the rule of Rabbi Eliezer with regard to that oven, and the same as תרומת טמאה, they burn it. ונמנו עליו וברכו. That's again in a reverse way. They put a ban against Rabbi Eliezer. ואמרו מי ילך ויודיעו? Who is the one who's going to tell him that he is excommunicated? אמר להם רבי עקיבא, אני אלך שמא אדם שאינו הגון ויודיעו, שמא ילך אדם שאינו הגון ויודיעו, ונמצא מחריב את כל העולם כולו. Because God in a way watch over those Torah scholars, and therefore you have to be careful who is telling him what. מה עשה רבי עקיבא? לבש שחורים ונטף שחורים. רבי עקיבא wore a black garments, and וישב לפניו בריחוק 400, and he sat like someone who was excommunicated in the 4 cubits distance. אמר לו רבי אליעזר, עקיבא, מה היו מיומיים? רבי אליעזר said, what happened? Why you behave like that? So he said, אמר לו רבי, כמדומה לי שחברים בטלים ממך. He said that it appeared to me that your colleagues are distancing themselves from you. So employ basically euphemism. It's actually the distance Rabbi Eliezer from them. So it's just Marsha, another said, try to be as respectful as he can. So he did the same. He rent his garment and remove his shoes. It's the custom of the person who ostracized. And וישב על גבי קרקע, and he sat in the ground and he dropped from his seat. It's a story about the Kedushat Levi, the great Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ben Tzor Shasha, zchuto yagen aleinu, that the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, or Baruch from Meshbush, have some disagreement with him. So when he passed away, it was a Hasid Shoteh, it was a horrible person who came happy and said, Baruch, you know, the Kedushat Levi passed away. So Baruch was tremendously sorrow, and he said, Shoteh שבעולם, how bad you are, לא תוציא שנתך. He says the whole story is I tried to fight against those forces to bring the Geula, and the Satan said, if Rabbi Levi Yitzchak alive, you don't need the Geula. But the idea is, it's a very sensitive subject when it's come to this type of relationship between the scholars. זלגו עיניו דמעות, לקה העולם בשליש בזיתים, בשליש בחיטים, בשליש בשעורים. Because Rabbi Eliezer cried, the whole world was shaking. And they said it was in a way famine. The 1/3 of olives were afflicted, 1/3 of wheat, and 1/3 of barley. ויש אומרים, בצק שבידי אישה they say that even because of the anger of that day, of Rabbi Eliezer, the woman hands spoiled when they did kneaded the dough. So it's a frightening story about the Bach. We mentioned earlier the Bach, the commentator on the code. He lived in a city of bells in the early part of his life. He was a Rav there, and people would talk, unfortunately, evil gossip against the great Bach. So all the Rabbanim who either here or watching us should know that it happens in the past. So they said that they noticed, for example, at night that it's dark in his house. The fact that they do not provide him a candle so he can study Torah, that's a different story. But so what happened is, one time, it was Friday, they asked the shames to take a note from the balabatim, from the machers, how do you call it, the board, to tell him that he should find another job. And you talk about one of the greatest rabbanim ever. So the shames couldn't do it. He was heartbroken. So he figured out, I can't do it before Shabbos, before Shabbat to the great Bach. I'll hold this paper and I give it to him after Shabbat. Meanwhile, the moment that the Shabbos is over, it was a group of people that came from Krakow, which was a large city of Jewish life at that time, and they came to the Bach and asked him, they want to hire him as the rabbi of that way larger community in Krakow. So he accepted the position, and then the shames came in. He doesn't know what's going on, and he was heartbroken, crying, and said to the Bach, I have a letter to present to you. So he gave it to the Bach, and the letter said that basically they want him to find another job while he already accepted job in the largest city of Krakow. So the Bach asked him, wait a second, when they asked you to give it to me? So he said, it was Friday, but I didn't want to make you Shabbos sad, so I withheld it and I gave it to you now. So the Bach said to him, you did the right thing, and he blessed him from the bottom of his heart. But the story goes, years later, unfortunately the evil people, the government, destroyed that cemetery, moved that cemetery and destroyed it. So they came before the Belzer Rabbi, the Hasidic Rebbe of Belz, and asked him why you don't have a sitting prayer that should not happen. And the Belzer Rebbe said to them, since the Bach was very makpid, was very hurt over the way that the community in Belz mistreated him, therefore that go on even for those people afterlife. And he basically cursed them out that they don't have a peace, not only during lifetime, but even afterlife. And now when this happened, that the enemies destroy cemetery, I cannot exceed a prayer in heaven against the Bach's wishes. So that's, again, that's frightening when you're dealing with great people here, like Rabbi Eliezer, when he was heartbroken over excommunicated against him from the others, the whole world was affected. That there was a great famine at that time. Even as we said here, that the women who hold the door to prepare food, it's also spoiled them. Anyway, Tana ach גדול היה, some said אף, באותו היום, שבכל מקום שנתן בו רבי אליעזר, עיניו רבי אליעזר נשרף. That the whole place that Rabbi Eliezer put his eyes was burned. It's a frightening situation. That's the Baal Shem Tov said. The Gemarrah said, "Kol ha'olam nidon b'shvil Chanina." The whole world is for Chanina ben Dosa. That the source for the shefa, the source for abundance in the world is the righteous people. The same here. Rabbi Eliezer is in a tzar, is in sorrow, so it's affected the whole world. ואף רבן גמליאל היה בא בספינה, עמד עליו נחשול. Even Rabban Gamliel, the great man, is the head of the rabbinic court that excommunicated Rabbi Eliezer. He went in the boat, and it was a huge wave. עמד עליו נחשול וטבו. This was almost gone when he was in the water. אמר, כמדומה לי שאין זה אלא בשביל רבי אליעזר בן הורקנוס. I feel that that's happened because of what happened to Rabbi Eliezer. עמד הרגליו ואמר, ריבונו של עולם, גלוי וידוע לפניך שלא לכבודי עשיתי ולכבוד בית אבא עשיתי, אלא לכבודך שלא ירבו מחלוקות בישראל. You should know Almighty, when he was in the water, he said that I did it not for my honor and my father's honor, I did it for you, Almighty honor, so that disputes will not proliferate in Israel. So in response, נח הים מזעפו. The sea calmed after he made that statement, and the sea was resting. Again, hard story. The story also goes that the time of great Rab Nachman of Breslev was one of the people, one of the righteous people that opposed that his way, and he was on a boat, and he said to the people, it was suddenly a sudden storm in the water, and he said, I knew that that's because of my opposition to Rab Nachman of Breslov. So they said it was when it was a disputation between the Kotsk and Ishbitza, the Chidushei Harim, the great Hasidic Rebbe of Gur, not mixed in because he was afraid that he have Negiot, that he is connected. The Eima Shalom de Bitu de Rabbi Eliezer Achte de Rabban Gamliel Abai. Frightening story about the sister of Rabban Gamliel. She was the wife of Rabbi Eliezer. She didn't let Rabbi Eliezer to have, when you do Tachnun, you put your face down. So it's a very important what the Beit Yosef said, that when that's the Psak Halacha and Shulchan Aruch, that we should not stop by any means between the Shmones or between the Amida and the Tachnun. That's the Beit Yosef said, it's in Shulchan Aruch. It's very important to know because the answer for Tachanun, soon you see, it's going straight to heaven for that supplication. It was she thought that his Rosh Chodesh, the big idea that Rosh Chodesh we don't have Nefilat Afayim, we don't say Tachnun. It's a question how she counted. She mixed between, sometimes it's 29 days, 30 days, etc. It was a poor person that standing in the door, and Rabbi Eliezer gets to Tachnun at that time. So she brought him a bread. She didn't watch her husband doing ashkartet nafal arapei. So he have nefilat apayim amra lekum katalit laachi. So he's gone. הדאח נפק שיפורם בית רבן חבליל דשכיב. ואמר לה מנה ידעת, אמר לכך מגולם בית אבי הבאה, כל השרים ללים חוץ משרי הונאה. When it's come to a or verbal communication, that's something that in heaven they are very strict. As the story goes about the Reb Chaim Shmulevitz during the 6-day war, people stay in a shelter for a long time. It was bombing. And they said, Gimel Midot, they say all these prayers. When they come out, Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said, it's not, don't think for a second, he said to his students that because of our prayer, it was because of the koveset. It was a woman that she was aguna, was deserted, the husband left her. And she said at that time, when it was crisis, says, God, I forgive all my sorrow in life, and because of that, we all save. So that's the koach of Filat Tachanun, the special prayer every Tachanun. The story goes that someone came to the Rav of Rothschild, and they said to him, I don't make a good living, etc. So the Rabbi of Rothschild said, you have to be careful with Tachnun, because if you skip days with no justification, it's hurt your parnasah. The whole idea, the Stipler used to say, the Kilot Yaakov, people used to have Yom Kippur Katan, right, Elliot? Yeah. Before Rosh Chodesh, and they stopped it. And he said that those who wants to have parnasah should go back and do that. Tanu Rabbanan Maneh et hager v'over shlosha lavim v'alochatzo over bishnayim. Here they speak about how to treat properly the ger. מה יש למענה, דכתיב אל 3 לווים וגר לא תונה וחיגרו איתך גר בעצמכם לא תונו אותו ולא תונו איש את עמיתו וגר בכלל עמיתו ולא חצו נמי 3 כתיב ולא תלחצנו ולא תלחץ וגר לא תלחץ ולא תהיה לו כנושה וגר בכלל הוא אלא אחד זה ואחד זה ב3 לווים. So basically there is a tremendous amount of statements in the rabbinic writing and in Torah how to treat the convert. The story goes, the Chazon Ish, someone came to him in Simchas Torah, and he said that, I'm a ger, I'm lonely, I don't have anybody. So the Chazon Ish in the street, middle of the street, start dance with him. That's ve'avtem et hager. The story goes over in the Chafetz Chaim that at the night of Yom Kippur, that is the one of the most holy nights, was a ger came to him and he stood there for hours and tried to make him feel better. That's the idea of ואהבתם את הגר. תניא רבי אליעזר הגדול אומר, פני מה הזהיר התורה ב33 מקומות, ועמלה ב46 מקומות. He said that either 36 places or 46 places, the ger, to be careful not to put down a ger, a convert. מפני שסורו רע. מה ידכתיב וגר לא תרונה ולא תלחצנו, כי גרים הייתם בארץ מצרים. תניא רבי נתן אומר, מום שבכלל תאמר לחברך, that we are all גרים in Egypt. ואנו דאמרי, איני שדזיקיב לזקיפה, בדיוקתי לא נאמר לחבר זקיף בניתה. So the idea is that we have to be careful of hanging is demeaning for that family. Mishnah. Now we talking about people who are merchant. At that time was the produce merchant, but we can derive from that all different merchant. That's the way Tosfot said and others. En me'arvin perot ve'perot, one may not intermingle produce brought from one supplier with other produce. So unfortunately that's people does. You go sometimes to the market, you see the afilu chadashim b'chadashim. Even you can say you mix, you put at the front all these nice tomatoes, and under that it's all the rotten, right? But here it says even that it's all new, and it's appear that there's no difference because it's all new. It's still problematic. The Rosh said that the key is that you're mixing and people have the appearance that it's good, and actually it's a mixture of good and not good. דף סמך, page 60, ואין צריך לומר חדשים בישנים. So obviously you don't needless to say that one may not intermingle new produce with the old produce. So that sometimes the old is superior, but the idea is the buyer sometimes misconstrue is a question what exactly happened. The Rosh has, but the idea is we should make sure that the people who buy understand clearly what they are buying. באמת אמרו ביין התירו לערב קשה ברך מפני שהוא משביחו, אל מערבים שמרי יין ביין, אבל נותנים לו את שמריו. So the key is when it's come to wine, the sediments, it's a question that was asked in Minchat Yitzchak, the great Dayan Weiss. So the question they asked him, he wrote me once in Askamo to my book. So he wrote Charifu Baki Tuva. So I asked Shamus why. Anyway, he was a special man. So Dan Weiss said, when it's come to wine, they asked him, why you don't say the bracha tovu meiti, special bracha you make? So he said, in those days it wasn't chemicals. So wine that came out good really deserve a special bracha. But he said in our days, since they mix so much chemicals with this, so you don't need to say a special bracha of a tova meiti for wine. Anyway, that's the whole idea. You see on the bottles, it's written neutral, like pure, natural wine. The MS is not just natural wine. Let's say that about other things, about juices. You have to ask yourself, what is the natural? The natural is the sugar is the natural, the water is natural. What exactly the natural? Because sometimes people misconstrue. They think that it's applied to a product itself, and it's not always true. מי שנתערב מים בעינו, לא ימכרנו בחנות, אלא ימכרנו דיו. So they said that if one had the water mixed with the wine, may not sell it in the store unless he informs the buyer that it contains water. That's unfortunately a grave sin that people have. ולא לתגר על פי שהודיעו, שאינו לרמות בו. Because people sometimes deceive each other. מקום שנהגו להטיל מים ביין, יטילו. So it's all לפי מנהג המדינה. This is the issue of cheating, deceiving each other. Sometimes people advertise that this is a special lenses, special glasses, right? And it's cheating. It's not really true. Sometimes people exaggerate the truth. They said a special break, a special reduction of price, and basically it's playing games. It's not really true. התגר, the merchant נוטל מחמש גרנות ונותן לתוך מגורה אחת, מחמש גיטות ונוטל פתאום אחד, ולבד שלא מתכוון לערב. So it can go both ways. It's a response from the Chavot Yair. So a woman came and she claimed that the seller, they said that I bought a kemach, I bought a dough, and it contained tolaim, it contained those small bugs. So he asked, who has the burden of proof to prove that this is true? Because the seller said that she is the only one who complained, no one else complained. So the question is, who's saying the truth, who is really deceiving whom, etc. תנו רבנן, אני צריך לומר חדשות מארבע וישנות משלוש, דין מערבין אפילו חדשות משלוש וישנות מארבע, הן מערבין מפני שאדם רוצה לישנה. באמת אמרו ביין התירו לערב קשה ברך מפני שהוא משביחו, which means that חריף, not חריף. אמר רבי אלעזר, עדה אמרה, כל באמת אמרו הלכה היא. So the idea is that the Yerushalmi said that that's הלכה למשה מסיני באמת אמרו, the Rabbeinu Ivan Bartanura said that that's the clear idea. אמר רב נחמן, בין הגיטות שנו, והעידנא דקאמר ושלא בין הגיטות. But here you see that before the ferment that they do it in a wine press. So אמר רב פאפא דיעדא וקמחלי. They knew and they let go. Another option, רב אחא ברי רב איקרא אמר, המאני רבי יחאי. תניא רבי יחא מתיר בדבר הנטעם, which means that people taste and they recognize the difference. So then there is no deceased when the buyer tasted and he is immediately aware that is a mixture, and the choice of whether or not to purchase the product is the buyer choice. So the Mishnah said, "V'narvim shimrei yain beyain, אבל נותן לו את שמרם." So they said one may not intentionally mix wine sediments with the wine, but one may give the buyer wine with its sediment. So Gemarrah asked, "V'amart reisha marvin klal." First part, you said it don't mix at all. וכי אם המן נותן לו שמריו דקמוד עלי, הם דקתנא סיפא לא ימכרנו בחנות, אלא אם כן מודיעו, ולא לתגר אף על פי שהוא מודיעו, מחלה דרישא אף על גב דלא מודה לי. אמר רב יהודה אחי כאמר, אין מערבין שמרים של אמש בשל היום, ולא של יום בשל אמש. So it means that Rashi said even that from two different barrels. But don't mix something from yesterday with today. That's unfortunately people do that. תניא מאח רבי יהודה אומר השופע יין, which means that someone pull a wine from a jug in order to make sure that the only wine comes out. לחברו הרי זה לא יערב של אמש של יום ולא של יום של אמש. So don't mix the wine from yesterday with today, right? אבל מערב של אמש בשל אמש ושל היום בשל היום. So שמרים של יין you can mix. But otherwise it's גנבת דעת. גנבת דעת, it's a איסור חמור מאוד. And that's, by the way, applies also to cheat a non-Jew. It's prohibited. מי שמתערב מים בעינו, הרי זה לא ימכרנו בחנות, אלא אם כן מודיעו. They said that if you have a mix of water with the wine, so you not sell it to the store unless you tell the customers, the buyers, that it contains water. So the Sma said, person more יותר לעצמו, that some people feels it's okay to do it. Because sometimes people said, it's not me, it's my employee, it's my colleague, it's my friends did it, I didn't do it, it's also prohibited. רבא הייתו לי חמרא מחנותא מזגי, טעמי לו אבי בסים, שדרי לחנותא, אמר לי אביי והנתנן לא לתגר אף ביש הודיעו, אמר לי מזגה דידי מידא ידיע. He said that I basically know it. וכי תימא דתפר מיחלי ומזבל לי, אם כן אין דבר סוף. It should be prohibited to sell any wine to a merchant due to the concern that lest he engage in deceit in its resale. And that's the Choshen Mishpat 228 said, in the place where it's customary for a buyer to sample wine before purchasing it, it's always permitted to mix wines, provided that the seller does so with the measure that it's easily detracted. If, however, not everyone tastes the wine, it is prohibited. That's basically the follower of Acha. מקום שנהגו להטיל מים ביין יטילו. תנא למחסר לשליש ולרביע אמר רב ובין הגיטות שנו. So again, it's the Minchat Yitzchak, the great Dayan Weiss have a responsa. When they take the places, they take the wine and make a powder, and then they mix it with the water. So they ask a question: can you do Bore Priagafen with that? So, or if you can sell it, because people misunderstand sometimes, it's a total new product. Maybe you're not allowed to even mix with this type of water. The same applies to minei perot. Sometimes you see it. The Sfardim are more lenient, but the idea is you see that it's born mina mezonos, and it's not always correct. The Dayan Wise said that in some cases it's a motzi. Anyway, the Mishnah continue with Dinei Onah, that people do all kind of things in order to increase more buyers, and not always it's right. Sometimes it's the act of deceitful way. רבי יהודה אומר לו, יחלך חנווני כליות וגוזין לתינוקות מפני שהוא מרגילן לבוא אצלו וחכמים מתירים. רבי יהודה said a storekeeper may not hand out toasted grain and nuts to children to patronize his store, because they are bring people to come to the store, but the sages allow it. So the Choshen Mishpat said in 228, it is permitted for a storekeeper to distribute toasted grain, nuts, and the like to children in order to attract them to his store. Similarly, if one wishes to sell all at prices lower than his competition, the other storekeepers cannot object. That's basically the sages' view. The Aruch HaShulchan maintain that this halakha applies only to food, but not to other merchandise. So that's what we said many times. You have to ask a prominent posek when it's come to these type of things. V'lo yifchot et hashar, shouldn't sell just when it's a cartel to break the market, etc. V'chachamim omrim zachur latov, because that's basically increase positive market. ולא יעבור את הגריסין, דברי אבא שאול וחכמים מתירים. One may not sift ground beans to remove the waste, lest he charge an inappropriate high price for the sifted meal beyond its actual value, but the sages allow it. ומודים שלא יעבור מעל פי מגורה, שאינו לה כגונב את העין. The Gemarrah explained why, because people, basically Tosfot said that people misconstrue and they think that it's all like that. It's a form of the deception. אין מפרקסים לא את האדם ולא את הבהמה ולא את הכלים. A person not adorn a person before selling him. In those days it was a slave market, because that's again is the idea of gezel. My tamayu de Rabbanan. What's the reason for the opinion of the sages who permit a free distribution of toasted grain and nuts? אמר לי, ענה מפלגנה אמגוזי ואת פלג שיסקי. So that basically the shiskei, the Meiri said, is better than the others. But all merchants are able to hand out goods that will attract children, and consequently this is not unfair competition. But again, it's mutar, it's allowed, but it's not zachur latov. ולא יפחוד את השאר ואנחנו אומרים זכור לטוב. מהתמה דרבנן. So what's the reason of the sages who not only condone the practice, but even praise the person, saying that he should remember positively? סמך עמוד ב' 60b משום דקמרווח לתראה, because you're lowering the price to this type of action leads establishment of a lower market price. ולא יעבור את הגריסים דברי אבא שאול וחכמים מתירים מים חכמים, רבי יחד דתן רבי יחד מתיר בדבר הנראה. That's Yosef elaborate, but the idea is that something is obviously allowed. אין מפרקסים לא את האדם ולא את הכלים תנו, רבנן משרבטים את הבהמה. So basically you מסרק, you stiffen the hair of an animal to create an impression that is more valuable than it is. ואין הופכים בקרביים ונשורים את הבשר במים. מים משרבטין, אבל תרגמו מאיה דחיזרא, זעירי אמר רב כהנא מזקפה. So again, that it's, you make it, you're scrubbing the hair, you basically increase the value. So now the Gemara speaks about situation that you're allowed to do that, but again, as we said, we're not paskin halachot here. This is something that a person should always ask a prominent posek. Shmuel shara lemirma tume de sarbela. Even nowadays, you're allowed to paint your house in order to sell it better. You're not cheating, right? But Rav Yehuda ashra lekaskus karmai, so he allowed to launder a color garments. Rabba Sharak Lemeda Ksarde, Rabba Sharak Leslumi Girei. It's all in order to make it look nice. Rabba Bar Shmuel Sharak Leslumi Dukule. Vanantnan Mfarkisim Lo Et Adam Lo Et Abama Lo Et Akilim Lo Kashya Habechalete Habeatiki. So you have to differentiate, the Ritva explained in others, between the old merchandise and new merchandise. The Choshen Mishpat in 228 and the Sema explained that it is prohibited to adorn an item for sale, but this prohibition applies to people, animals, and vessels. For example, one may neither dye a slave's, in those days, beard to provide him with a younger appearance, nor maybe stiffen, scrape, or scrub the hair of an animal to create an impression that is in a higher quality. One may, nor may one dye an old garments so that it will appear new. Similarly, one may not soak meat to inflate in tails to improve their appearance, unless it is customary for all merchants to do so. It is permitted to dye and adorn new vessels, as they are new, high quality item anyway. So, Pirkus Dadam Mahi, let's give you an example. Avda Sava, it was an old Canaanite slave, that he's already have a gray, white hair, right? He dyed his hair. אמר לי זבנן, אמר לי יהיו עניים בני ביתך, שיהיו זה עניי ישראל, ואתה לקמד רב פאבא בר שמואל זבני, יום אחד אמר לי, השכן מאיה, אזל חבר לרישא ולדיקנה, אמר לי, חזי דענן קשיש מאבוך, that even Marsha said, נוח יזקן. קרעניו שצדיק מצרה נחלס ויבוא אחרי דורתיו, that's not the exact pasuk, but he said the righteous person is derived from trouble, and another comes to its stead. So Papa applies that the verse to the incident of this slave, the righteous person, Rava, was spared the problem of the slave, while another of Papa and Rav Shmuel came to his stead. So that's the Ben Yoyada, the Ben Ish Chai, explains that yes, it is true that I pay the price, I fall, stumble, something that is very uncomfortable, but who knows how much more suffering I can endure, but having this suffering, it's basically saved me from. That's the idea that tzaddik nechlatz mitzara gdola. The Tiferet Shlomo brings about the festival of Sukkot. They say that Yom Rishon, the first day, Rishonu lachem lecheshbon avonot. That's the famous midrash. So he explained what does that mean. So he explained that unfortunately the Satan said, look, Jewish people came on Yom Kippur and they said, Chatanu, Avinu, Pashanu, Chatanu lefanecha, Slach lanu, Mechal lanu, Kaper lanu. So he said that this is a smart nation. They come, but they just do it on Yom Kippur. So here, he says, we have the festival of Sukkot, and you see people that take etrog, that day after Sukkot, it's worth $1, and they're paying $50 or $100 for etrog. See, lulav can worth $1 or $2, the people pay $30 or $100 for that. So that's Rishon Ulachem, that's Yetzer Hara, that you see that people willing to pay for this mitzvah, even just for the Yom Tov, or just for festival, not because it's this really market value of the product in general. So the story about great rabbi that came from Lemberg, he went to the late Bobover Rebbe. So he said it's either from the Rebbe of Zhikov or the Rebbe of Ropshitz, but anyway, it was one year that he went to him, and it was unfortunately all the etrogim was the boat sank and it wasn't etrogim in the city. So he came to the Rebbe and said, you know, look what happens. The Rebbe said to him, it's the opposite. The Satan, the other side, made a mistake. Why has made a mistake? Because he figured out that people give up hope. They not come to shul. They not do anything because there's no etrogim available. Quite the contrary, everybody come to shul and cry out that unfortunately in Yom Tov is no lulav and etrog. So he said that's even serious than for the Satan is just the opposite way. People come and pour their heart out. So he said we should come and thank God for what we have. And that's exactly what the Ben Yehuda, the Ben Ish Chai explains here. Who knows from whom and from what I was saved? So that's the idea when we said Shana Tova Umtuka, that Hashem will grant us a good year and a sweet year. Why we said a sweet year? that we will see the sweet, the good part we have in our lives. That's the Hareini Hashem Chazdecha, the Almighty show me your kindness. Hadran alach hazahar.